Dear God, I am ready for your help in removing from me defects of character which now realise are an obstacle in my recovery. Help me to continue to be honest with myself and guide me towards spiritual and mental health. Amen. It is with much love and gratitude that the group welcomes Terry F., who's come to share with us. Terry, over to you.
Thank you, Katie. Can you guys hear me all right? Good. I have a little toddler on my lap. You might be joining us again. Let's see what happens. But I'm excited to hear what I have to say today. I think I'm just going to let God demonstrate through me what God could do. Um, I'm just an instrument of God. I just get played all the time. So let's hear some good music, huh? Let's get me out of the way. My name's Terry. I'm an addict. Sobriety date's June 1st, 2019. I have a, well, had a home group. I had to close it because and we're starting a new group, me and Donna J, in September, called Awakens Messengers, where all the young people in recovery who are on fire for recovery. Hold on, just gotta take them over here. Who are on fire for recovery and basically under 10 years who've been lit up, who've had that God conscious just burst out of them, and we're excited. And Purdy, you're on that list, so expect a phone call from me or Donna soon. So yeah, I was tasked to talk about step 6 and 7, and it's very difficult to talk about experiential steps. Very difficult to talk about God in general. But we talk in metaphors here, or we talk in stories, right? I guess what I could say is, one of the greatest action verbs of Alcoholics Anonymous or Cocaine Anonymous is letting go and letting God. So I guess I'll tell you a little story that kind of best summarizes step 6 and 7 mean to me personally. Then I'll go into story time because I'm a storyteller. That's my favorite thing to do, is tell my story here. Right? And don't stop telling your story. You never know who you're going to help, and you never know who's going to be drawn to you or moved to you, or you never know who you're going to help because someone out there is hurting, and you have the power, unique power, to be useful to another addict. I had open heart surgery in 2018, and there was a lot of scratching and crawling not to get on that operating table, right? And I equate step 6 to that, me just fighting and going through immense pain and agony before I absolutely let go and get on that operating table. And then the next step is to let God do surgery on me, soul surgery on me. And I want to talk more about my experience with step 6 and step 7. And there are only 2 paragraphs in the big book, but they are the program of recovery. You could equate all the steps into step 6 and 7. They are one of my favorite steps. And, I think the first thing I remember, my first time I ever spoke at a meeting, and I remember it was like they gave me a call and they asked me to speak, and it was like a 20-minute share. And Purdy, I didn't know what to talk about. and Purdy, I was selfishly praying all day for God to give me some words or a topic to talk about. Why? Because I wanted people to stand up and give me a standing ovation, love and applause and moments of sublime, right? All that stuff. And I'm talking to myself all day, thinking I'm talking to God. Remember in the 11th step, it says we could pray for ourselves if others could be helped. Let's not pray for our own selfish ends. And I wanted people to like me, right? Which is another, you could say, a dirty cousin of defective character. It's called aspect of character. It's just an aspect of character is called a belief system. Basically an old idea or an old emotion or an old belief system. Like, I need money to live. I need a good job to be okay. I need love in order to be okay, etc. Right? And I remember I was talking all day, but I didn't hear anything, Purdy. Like, I didn't hear nothing. you know? And I remember I was crossing the street and I was jaywalking across the street and I was delivering pizzas at that time. I'm also a retired pizza delivery boy, by the way. Right, Andy? Yeah. Yeah. I used to deliver joy to people all the time. How fun was that? Um, I miss delivering pizza. Um, yeah, back to the story. And I was jaywalking across the street and I remember I'm holding this pizza and I was like, you know what, God, just get me out of the way so that I could be useful to like one of your kids. And then like a lightning bolt, it hit me. And you know what it said? It said, it's not about you. And I was like, but it's not about me. You know, I was just so consumed with me. You know, I, the great MY, the great for me. You know, I was so consumed with self-seeking, what I want when I wanted it. And God showed me that I was just talking in my head all day about it. And it's about someone who's suffering. You know, if you're new here, welcome home. If you got multiple years of sobriety and you're suffering, welcome home. You know, this one's for you guys. You know, man, I remember I spoke at the convention. You know, here's a phenomenon that happens here, Purdy, where the ego becomes extremely spiritual really fast. Yeah, yeah. Right, Ava? In Boston Airport, I see you. I'm in New York, by the way. And have you ever heard that like your disease is outside doing push-ups? Yeah, it's true. It's cute too. Cute little saying. This is my experience. It's more like my disease is in the other room taking acting classes, looking to make a effing comeback. And it will come back in a different face, like Mr. AA sponsor, or Mr. AA speaker, or Mr. CA convention speaker. All right? Like AA sponsor. I remember I would be so angry at my sponsees for not doing the work. Who's ever been angry at their sponsees for not doing the work? Remember, yeah, remember there's immense pain right before a real surrender. And I could not get this out of my head why other people were not doing the work. Why don't you want what I have? Do what I do, right? And I remember in that moment I let go and I wrote down on my first column, and it was the most powerful spiritual experience. It just hit me, smacked me right in my face, Ferdy. And I said, my capital M, capital Y, my sponsees, like they belong to me. And it hit me and they don't. They don't. You see, I didn't understand that I was being kind, generous, self-sacrificing, but also playing God. I had a kind motive, but there was a selfishness to it. I didn't understand that I was suffering from what wasn't even happening. I was pushing more people out of the program than in. And I had to let go. And in order for me to let God operate on me, I had to be awakened to the fact that I was playing God, even though I had kind motives behind it. And back to the story in St. Louis, I spoke, DeValdis was there. So was Bill H. I'm like, just powerful messengers of hope. And I was the Saturday speaker. I was the guy, right, Andy? And I was on that plane, baby. And I'm thinking about all the cool stuff I was going to say, right? You know why? I wanted that love, baby. I wanted those people lined up giving me freaking hugs. Come here, Terry. Come here, Terry. I fell in love with my own voice and I fell in love with I fell in love with it. So I killed that talk. I killed it. I killed it. I crushed it. People literally did line up to talk to me, give me hugs, tell me how wonderful I was and blah, blah, blah. And after I'm walking away, this couple comes up to me, this guy, Andy, this guy comes up to me, kind of had the same haircut you had. And he came up to me, he's like, hey, Terry, I love that share. And I'm like, come here, buddy. Give me a high five. Come here. Give me a hug too, man. I appreciate that. And then his wife looks over at me. She's like, hey, I love your sermon out there. And I'm like, sermon? I didn't say this out loud, but I'm like, sermon? What are you talking about, sermon? And I'm like, oh my God, I talk too much about God. Oh my God, I offended a lot of people. Oh my God. I mean, 299 people were giving me a standing ovation, but one freaking person called it a sermon. You know what happened? It was the end of the world right up here. I was so disturbed because I was disturbable. I was so upset because I was upsettable. I was so offended because I was offendable. I had a belief system, an aspect of character that I needed to speak in order to be okay, in order to be spiritual. I needed people to like me in order to be okay. See, this is part of the characteristics that you could call them human instincts. These are things that I grew up with, things that I took on from mommy, daddy, social events, friends, stuff like that. Like, yes, it could be used for good. It could be used for bad. That's why we have step 7. We ask God, just remove the good and the bad. It takes the judgment out of both. Oh my God. Who let Lavelle into this meeting, everybody? Lavelle, you guys gotta bulk up your security. I love you, Lavelle. Just saw you jumped on. Another wonderful messenger of hope. Lavelle has been helping me with people I've been working with actually. I just started this new thing where now they don't belong. These sponsees don't belong to me. I got that point right, and now I ask them. I'm like, hey, call 2 to 3 people. Go to one meeting per day at least. Get 2 or 3 numbers and give them a call a couple of times a day and check in on see how they're doing. Why? Because I need people around me. I need to stay in that middle of the herd. I need conduits. I need agents. I need spearheads, right? These people that will hold me accountable, right? I mean, I fell into a trap where I thought God was my sponsor. And well, if God is my sponsor, then God has a fool for a sponsee. Why? Because I was sponsoring up here. I was thinking to myself, dude, guys, I just got a new sponsor about 4 months ago, and for about a year and a half, I was sponsoring myself. All right, did not go very well. You guys might know him. His name's Terry. I'm from Arizona. Wonderful individual. But back to those people that Lavelle is also helping with. This gentleman in Australia is that this guy's got 2 weeks sober and he's in a recovered state of mind. Like his obsession has been relieved, and it had nothing to do with me. It had everything to do with God because God is everything. And we need everybody in our life in order to recover, in order to be in a surrendered state. Another reason why I need step 6, because I'm looking at everything that's objectionable and unwanted in my life that is blocking me off from power. Man, who's ever judged people, right? I mean, who's ever been at a meeting and like, Katie, you can put your earmuffs on because I heard you heard me talk about this earlier. So put your earmuffs on. Who's ever been at a meeting and while the speaker's speaking, you're thinking about what you want to share after they're done speaking. And you got little mental notes in your head. You got little awesome things to say. You got all you're going to share at the speaker, right? And what you're doing is you're listening to a story and a narrative in your head. See, I'm a great listener. My wife tells me I'm not. So she's technically right, but she's also technically wrong. She's right because I am not listening to her. She's wrong because I'm listening to the story that's in my head. The minion, the narrative, the narrative, the story, the liar, the thinker. See, our 10 step says we continue to watch for the manifestations of self. It does not say we continue to listen to the manifestations of self. See, I'm a great listener to my thinking. What happens when I listen to those thoughts long enough, I will believe them, and I will have an agnostically inclined thinking, and I will be, you know what? Let's go play God, right? And I'll go play God, and I'll step on your toes, and you'll retaliate, and I'll get angry, and I'll think about getting high as a solution, right? But I would judge speakers all the time. I mean, you could have Mark Houston, Chris R., all these amazing speakers up there, but I'm deaf ears listening to a story that's in my head. Man, I could have the best delivery in the world, but someone's just listening to the story and it's so loud. Something's got to die. Donna J would say death to self. You know that little minion in our head? That's why it says we're going to be reborn in the third step, meaning that something's got to die and it's fighting for its life when we go through this process. Absolutely, I need to let go. That is the first action verb that I have to actually do something with. That's why a third step says to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Keywords with, there's participation from me. But when there's participation from me, that means God will work on me at the same time. That's how a relationship is. Takes two to tango. I have to let go of this judgment because when I'm judging you, I think I'm right. And when I think I'm right, I'm playing God. Man, I would judge people about when recovering versus recovered. You guys ever heard that little controversy? Here's my deal. I would get so disturbed at when people say that they were recovering. And I'd be so fixated on that. I would go through that little story, that little narrative, and go down that rabbit hole with that. And I'm not even listening to anything in the meeting, and something could be said that could save my life in that very moment. Because this is a moment-to-moment way of life. Problem with me is I'm living in the past or I'm living in the future in that moment. I was reading a book. There's a meditation book called 365 Tao. I heard Mark Houston talk about it. I was sponsored by one of his sponsees for a little while. And it talks about these donkeys. I don't know if you ever heard it before, but it's pretty cool. You have all these donkeys that are going up to the mountaintop, right? And you could have your AA donkey, your NA donkey. You could have your agnostic donkey. You could have your don't drink and go to Beanings donkey. You could have, stick with the winners donkey. Or you have the 12 and 12 donkeys. Or you have the big book adventure, the VBA way of going through or the 4 hour, go through the steps in 4 hours workshop way donkey going up the things. Or you could have Joe and Charlie's donkey going up there by going through the steps. And all these donkeys are trying to make it to the summit, right? And I might not agree with that donkey. I'm judging the crap out of your donkey on the way up. And it might be a pretty rough ride because it's not really the path that I took, the big book way, right? You're taking it the long way, right? I'm also a recovered big book thumper as well. I'm more of an enthusiast today because of this, right? And I'm judging all these donkeys. We all get up there, right? And that entire time, they might have came up maybe a few days later, 10 years later, whatever it was. But we're all standing at the mountaintop, and I'm standing at them, still laughing at them. But I'm making fun of their donkey so much. But aren't I riding a donkey myself? It terminated that judgment. That's why I ask God every single morning to help me with my judgment. I'm willing to let this go because I see it's objectionable. I see it's unwanted. I see it's blocking me off from power. I see that I can no longer have conscious contact with you when I'm doing this. Yeah. Step 6 is all about, am I willing to grow up? Am I willing to grow in the image and likeness of my Creator? It's fun. You ever read the big book, it says, we claim spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection. Bill kind of ups the ante when he goes to the 12 and 12, right? He says, we strive towards perfection, right? So I'm striving towards the perfection of which is God. Meaning I'll probably never hit perfection, but I'm going to continuously try with God's help. But I need to get out of the way first. I remember, it's a good one. You guys said the Laicide prayer earlier. Yet again, I don't know what the hell's I'm going to talk about. This ain't Terry talking. This is God working through Terry right now. These stories are just coming into my consciousness. And I remember I was, in the big book, it says, be quick to see where religious people are right. You guys ever heard that before? It does not say be quick to see that religious people are right. It says be quick to see where they are right. And what I was doing is I was making people, the people that I work with, my friends, no longer I call them sponsees anymore, I call them friends. And I was making them go, branch out because one day you're going to have to graduate and go to, spiritual, middle school, spiritual kindergarten, go to spiritual middle school. And one day you're going to have to graduate spiritual middle school and go to spiritual high school. And one day you're going to have to graduate spiritual high school and go to spiritual college. Grow up, grow up, grow up. But you need a foundation in order to branch out. If you want to learn about how to meditate, go talk to some Buddhists who've been doing it for the past 2,000 years. They got some good experience on that, right? And I was telling these people to go do this, but guess who was not doing it? The speaker you chose to speak today. Right. And Andy was talking about this the other day. Like, I love talking about how flawed I am. I love talking about my mistakes because they're all just invitations to lessons learned. You know, I'm not aware of this stuff unless I see it. That's why we watch, ask, discuss, turn, turn, turn. Thy will is being done. Show me the way. Show me the way. God will constantly reveal to you and as you go on. Like I only know a little and I just get constantly disclosed more and more to me. And I remember so my wife, she's a born again Christian. She asked me to go to church and I'm like, oh, damn, damn it, Andy. Damn it, Lavelle. I don't know how you snuck in this meeting, Lavelle. And I'm like, Lavelle, damn it, man. Like, I really don't want to go. But the time has come where I have to go. My wife and I are going to church. And you know what's going through my mind? Religious people are hypocrites. This is that. This person did that. All the old ideas, all the old prejudice, all those aspects of character, those little old ideas, right, coming into mind, and I'm being tormented by it. Bedevilments, right? And that means to be tormented. I felt tormented by this stuff. And I'm suffering from what's not even happening, literally, in that moment. My mind's just living in the future on what might could happen and just living on all the crap that did happen in the past. And I'm sitting there so disturbed while on the car ride. And you know what? And here's what it came in. That's the cool thing when you watch all the time. Watch, 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 watch. Because then you start to see yourself being driven. And I'm watching, my true authentic self is watching my mind. Watch the thinker, watch the liar. And I'm watching my mind have a conversation. And I know it's objectionable. And at that moment, I had a step 6 moment of letting go. And I said, God, what do I do here? And you know what came into my mind, Purdy? The lay aside prayer. Where'd that come from? And I said, God, please lay aside everything I think I know about church, so I may have an open mind and a new experience with church. And we get to the church, and the pastor's up there, and he's talking about fear. And I'm like, ooh, I like fear. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, I like fear, you know. Evil corroding thread, right? Very existence, the fabric, and I love that stuff, right? And driven by 100 forms of fear, like this talking to me now. And the pastor said, it's not about when fear crops up, but if. I'm sorry, it's not if fear crops up. He says when fear crops up. I'm like, oh snap! Pastor just stepped 10 me, and then all of a sudden, my ears are way open. No more listening to the story in my head. I'm listening to this individual talk about spiritual principles that we do today. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is some good stuff. I mean, in the beginning, I was just praying to the God of my understanding. And your God of, I always used to say, Purdy, it's the God of my misunderstanding. It's actually, and then Paige F., I do a great big book study with her on Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern. If you guys are interested in the flyer, I'll send it over to you. She gave me the 1930s definition of understand or understood. It meant to know through experience, learn through experience. And I'm like, oh my God, it's an experiential God. And that's exactly how I experience God today. Like, what does a rose smell like? It smells like a rose, right? I can't explain it. I can only experience it. What does a banana taste like? Tastes like a banana. I can't explain it. I can only experience. And God is everything to me. So we'll go find God in everything that I do. And when I'm finding God in everything that I'm doing or looking for, I'm watching for God to work his magic and all this stuff. I have a pause moment or a realization moment that God is always there. I'm just awake to it now. And I was awake in that church, had a spiritual awakening, call it a spiritual experience, whatever you want to call it. And I'm like, man, this is pretty cool. There's so much, I don't know where else to go here. I want to talk about my son. My son, he has level 3 autism, and he's 4 years old. He's still nonverbal. And I had an idea that I wanted my son to be perfect. You see, I did not like the role that God assigned me. You know, God assigns this role, and I didn't like it. And from February to of this year, yeah, February to like April, he kept waking up every single day at 2 a.m. and not going back to bed at 9. And he's not walking around playing with toys. He's kicking and screaming and biting me, and also biting himself. And I wasn't sleeping because I was plowing snow. I work from 7:30 in the morning to midnight if it's snowing. So I'm doing all that. And then he's waking up at 2 and I'm taking care of that. I'm at and over and over. And I was exhausted. And my son got me. He got to me. And it wasn't like he got to me. I let him get to me because I didn't like the role that I was being assigned. I didn't like being a father of an autistic child. Another belief system that I took on because no one in my family is autistic, you know? And I literally rose my hand up like that. I was about to duck my kid in the face. And I had a pause moment. It hit me. That stopped me from hitting him. And instead of hitting him, I just rolled my hands back and I rubbed his shoulders and he went to sleep. And here's the crazy thing that happened to me, Purdy, that, wanna come say hi, buddy? Right there. Later on that night, I had a dream about getting high. That's crazy. I haven't had a dream about getting high in a very, very long time. See, in that moment, in that morning, I had a step six moment. I had a step six moment where I had to let go of everything I thought I knew. I had to let go of this idea that I need to be that I am a father of an autistic child and I need to let it go like it's an embarrassment or a shame to it. I had to let go and I got down on my knees and I let go absolutely. There's a lot of pain before real surrender, and that's exactly what happened to me. And then later on that day, I made amends to my son. I no longer suffer from that anymore. I love him. I love him. I love him. He just, he's a joy bringer, you know, like, so my wife and I we were fighting last week. You know, I like to talk about new stuff because I can't stay sober off the spiritual experience I had, 6 years ago or the spiritual experience I had yesterday. It's like I can't stay clean off of the shower I took yesterday, or I can't stay full off the ham sandwich I ate yesterday. I have to give nourishment to the soul, nourishment to the soul. We have to grow up on a daily basis. And, I'm fighting with my wife, and I had this resentment towards her, and I forgot what the resentment was for. And yet again, it's objectionable. I know it's objectionable. I'm not willing to let it go. It's in my inventories every single night. I'm like, yeah, it's okay. I'll just let it go. It's kind of like driving on a flat tire and hoping that flat tire goes away, right? That's like my experience with resentment. It's just going to continue to haunt me and daunt me, right? And my wife and I were I was holding his left hand, she was holding his right. And we were fighting back and forth. And all of a sudden, like my son pulled me and then pulled her. And then I looked down and he takes both our hands. He goes like this. He joins our hands together. I've never seen my son ever do this in my entire life. He's nonverbal. He does not speak. Talk about the language of the heart. Like he combined us. And I looked up at my wife in that moment. And I had a step six experience where I let go of that resentment towards her because it was unwanted. It was unnecessary. I was talking to my sponsor the other day about this. Come here, buddy. Come here. I said, I'm talking about you. I was talking to my sponsor about it. Like, because I have this awakened spirit, I have quality sobriety today. As I know there's a lot of people that don't have quality sobriety. I don't know if they've had a step one experience like I have. But I constantly want to grow up because I know that, yeah, my disease is in the other room taking acting class. Yeah, I know it's in the other room doing push-ups. I know it's I have an extremely powerful mind. And I was talking to him about and he was talking about how I developed this consciousness. It's like I was a newborn baby. And in order for me to develop this love muscle or this compassion muscle, I have to work it out. You know, like what you practice just grows stronger. It's like learning a language. It's like learning an instrument. You know, the more you practice it, you go stronger. The less you practice it, you lose it. When you completely stop, you forget it. And I have this awareness where I see myself being upset and see myself having these character defects that are just dominating my life, right? All activated by self-centered fear. I get it. And I see it's objectionable, but I'm not willing to let it go. But I could see the beauty. I could see the grace. I could feel it because I've experienced living in the fourth dimension. I've experienced living right here, right now, from moment to moment to moment to moment to moment to moment to moment basis for a very long time. I know what it feels to feel happy, joyous, and free. I can't self-will my way into that. I can't self-will my way into humility. I can't self-will my way into joy or freedom. I can't do any of that. I always fall up short. I need help to be carried through. This is where God comes in. This is where God comes in. And thank God I have a sponsor today that could hold me accountable. Like, I need someone to hold me accountable. I used to practice steel on steel with 5 other guys. We did it for about a year. It was amazing. If you have never ever tried it, I highly recommend just going on it on YouTube, or if you need directions or instructions on how to do it, it was kind of a little tedious process. But long story short, it could get a little argumentative. It could get a little dicey because people are going to say something that will get you really pissed off that you don't want to hear. It's like I tell some of my people that I work with, right? Would be convinced that any part of our life could be success if we on run self-will. So I have them go do spiritual exercises, like going out. I talk to 2 or 3 people and ask them, "Do you see me running my life on self-will?" And you got to shut up and be quiet. Or you ask them, "Do you think I'm authentic?" And you got to be quiet. And they're gonna say things that you don't really agree with or like, but you can't rebuttal. That's exactly what steel on steel does. It's gonna hold you accountable and wake you up. I need people like that to wake me up. I guess to talk about my dad. So sloth, all the, 7 deadly sins go in the umbrella of selfishness, right? Uh, all the defects of character can kind of go under the big four, right? Selfishness, self-seeking, fear, dishonesty, right? And, one of them was sloth. I love nap time. Who liked nap time? Anyone like nap time in the beginning? Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah, I had someone give me a fist pump. Blaine, right, Blaine? I love nap time, especially in the first year. The thing is, I kept doing it in year 2, 3, 4, 5. It just kind of kept going. And I saw that it was objectionable. I saw that it was unwanted. Right. Um, and I was supposed to see my dad, and my dad, he, he invited me over, and I said, no problem, blah, blah. But I just started a new job, and the new job working on the highways. If you are in New York, I work on the Sprain and Cross County. So if you see me picking paper, say hi. Or cutting grass, you could say, or I plow snow too. Um, and I was supposed to go see my dad, and I was really tired because I forgot exactly what we were doing that week. I think we were putting plows on and putting the wings on, and it was a long day. And I was coming up with a story in my head, Purdy, on how I was going to get out of hanging out with my dad. I did not want to hang out with my dad. I wanted to take a nap during the Sunday. And I was about to give him a call and bail out of it. And he gives me a call. He says, "Hey, Terry, we're painting the house. Can we see each other next week?" I was like, yeah, no problem. In the back of my mind, you know what I said, Purdy? Yes. Right, Ava? I was like, yes. Nap time, baby. Now drop the kid off at babysitting. I'll go to my bed for a couple hours. I'm out, right? Peace. And then the next week came, and same thing. Same situation. And I was coming up with a story again on how to bail out. He called me. He said, "We're sick. Uh, can we see each other next week?" I was like, yeah, no problem. You know what I said? Yes. Nap time, right? Then the following week, this is in November, October 31st, Halloween. I worked overnight with one of my coworkers. He was actually one of us. He was an alcoholic, and he had a heart attack and he died in his car that night. We thought he was sleeping. We tried resuscitating him. I had a friend pumping on his chest for 45 minutes. I thought about approaching him many times, but every time I was about to approach him, he smelled just liquored up. You know, I don't know. I mean, I kind of questioned myself and beat myself up on not doing it. I was separated from alcohol and drugs when I was high and drunk. I don't sell God short anymore. I know he could penetrate right through that crap, but I hesitated, and I know it wasn't me. He was suffering from a disease that was beyond his mental control. He couldn't stop, just like I did. However, what happened that Sunday was coming up. I was supposed to see my dad, and it was a bad week, everybody. It was a real bad week. And I remember coming up with that story. I was like, I got a pretty good story to get out of this one. And he calls me up. He says, "Hey, Terry, we're still sick, but I'm feeling better." And I was like, "Oh, okay, no problem. We can see each other the following week." He's like, "No, no, I'll come to you." I was like, "No, no, no, no. Don't worry about it. We'll see each other the following week." Next day, Purdy, he passed away. My dad. You know, he had a heart attack. He had a stroke. I remember I got the call. Yeah, I got the call that I got a call from his girlfriend, and he was, left a voicemail because I was outside cutting grass, and when I heard the voicemail, I just knew something was wrong. And I called her. She said he's gone, and I rushed right out of work, crying. Uh, Hold on, sorry. Usually I tell this story, I don't cry. Jesus, I haven't cried in a while. And I went over there, and I saw my dad on the floor, and I remember holding his hand. You know, I can't explain it. I know exactly what his hand felt like. It was like childhood memories rose above me, all experiences. I had an experience with money. You know, I was so upset about money, and work. When I had a powerful spiritual experience with doing two-way prayer, and I remember I was writing down, "Money's just paper. You could rip it." And I'm like, "Where'd that come from?" Or, um, if you're on your deathbed, like my dad is on the ground, are you gonna be thinking about how much money is in your bank account? Are you gonna be thinking about all the diplomas on your wall when you got a couple of days to live? That's what hit me in that moment. It's not. It's all about the relationships and the experiences I've had with God's children. There's no brothers or sisters here. We're all, you know, so there's no, God doesn't have any grandchildren, we're all brothers and sisters. And I'm holding my dad's hand, feeling all that. And, you know, I was willing to let go of sloth after that. Let's just say it. I was willing to give up nap time now, right? And sorry, excuse me. And, I knew it was unwanted. I knew it was killing me. I knew it was separating from me and you, and I knew it was separating from you and God. I knew it. And this just was the icing on the cake and the power punch to my gut. And I was on my knees and I said, "God, please remove the sloth. I'm ready for you to take it. My creator, I'm not willing you should have all, the good and the bad. Take it. Please. Please." And you know what happened, Purdy? God had the effing audacity not to take it away. I remember I was like, why? I'm still feeling lazy. I still feel slothful. Why do you have this still in my life, God? And two-way prayer came back again. And again, it's funny. Whenever I do two-way prayer, it's because usually there's immense pain that's associated with me listening or living my life in the character defect. That's basically what's happening. I wrote down exactly. I was telling what happened with God. How can I make this right? And he said, write a letter. And I haven't, when you make amends to people, there's 8 types of amends that should cover all amends, right? There's the man we hated. There's business acquaintances or friends. There's people that we owe money to. There's things for criminal offenses. I love the ones with criminal offenses when I help with other people. Like, I've never committed a crime. Like, oh, you ever ran a stoplight before? Yeah, okay. Well, no, you have a criminal offense, buddy. You know? There's cheating. There's also things that other people are involved where I rob a bank with me and Purdy, and I want to go make amends to that bank, but I could implicate Purdy. And then there's so much we should do at home, our family, and there's also the people that cannot be seen. And that's exactly where I wrote out this letter. And I wrote exactly this letter to my dad, explaining exactly what I told you guys and how sloth, uh, you know, is kicking my tail. And I asked my dad, how can I make this right? And it's it's the thing about listening to God. I was a great talker, but I was never a good listener to God. It's kind of like asking Purdy, hey, how's the weather in the UK? And I hang up on him, or, hey, but how's the weather in Boston right now? And I hang up on her, I gotta listen to what they gotta say, right? And I listened in that moment and it said, my dad said, be you. And I was like, be you? What does that mean? Be me. And part of our sane and sound ideal that we learn in our inventory process, we take that in the morning and we ask God to help us grow towards it, towards the perfection of which is of God. And I ask God to help me be me, be me, be me, be me. I took that with the meditative state of mind, with prayer meditation. I took it out with my step 10, and I took it with the spiritual exercises that I practice all throughout the day. And I ask God to help me be me, be me, be me. And 2 weeks later, I'm like, yo, Purdy, I haven't taken a nap. I'm not being slothful, you know? You see, I did the work and God worked on me, if that makes any sense. I don't know, I was asked to do a podcast. It's on YouTube. You guys could, I think Purdy was just on it, the 12 questions and 12 something, right? Yeah. So one of the 12 questions, right? And he asked you, he's like, when you stand at the pearly gates, right? What would your creator say to you? And I was like, what kind of witchcraft question is this, man? Like, like, what are you talking about, right? And I didn't know what the questions were. I just got hit with them. And I thought about it. My dad just passed away last week. And I was just thinking, I'm like, is my dad 80? Because he died when he was 81. Is he 80 years old in heaven or is he 20? Or is he a 5-year-old? That's what's going on in my head. I'm like, is he like a little kid in heaven right now, just playing around? And it says on page 28 of our big book, it says that we are all children of a living creator. That tells me 2 things, that God is alive and that we're all children of God. And what is the main function of a child is to play. Is to play in God's playground with God's children, you. And I answered the question that God would say, welcome home, my child. Thank you for playing on my playground. Welcome home. Oh man. You know what? When I don't know what else to say, I think that's the time to just shut up. So my name is Terry, and I'm an addict and alcoholic, and I love each and every one of you. I'll put my phone number in the chat. You want to chat recovery, you want to chat whatever. I love talking about this stuff. I love how God has changed my life. I love talking about how I've been freed from the bondage and stuff. I love talking about how flawed I am. I love talking about the recreation of my life. I love talking about all the pain and misery and how I'm still sober. I love being around you because I feel God's love with you. When I look at every single one of you, I see the face of God. You guys are just conduits. And that's why I love each and every one of you. That's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you for your share. You were heard. Appreciate you. Grateful you're here. Can we just take a moment, please? My Creator, I'm now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Grant me the strength as I go out here to do your bidding. Amen. I'd like to hand the meeting back to Terry to take us out of a prayer or reading of your choice, please, Terry. Over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Kate, and thanks, Bertie, again. What a great gathering you guys made up together. Doing God's work. Thank you. Helping a lot of people. That's what it's all about. Right? We'll do the fifth step prayer. I condensed it down to 2 words to make it simple, right? Why louse this thing up, right? It's called the thank you prayer. So we'll just have a moment of silence for anyone who's hurting or suffering. Have a moment of silence for any family members or anyone who's close to that tornado as well, who's hurting. And we'll have a moment of silence and say the thank you prayer. God, thank you. Amen.